In this video, we'll discuss niche racing series that some of you might know about or not. It's called the FFSA French GT Championship. The championship began in 1997 as a national spin-off of the successful international BPR GT Series, which began in 1994. Like BPR, this series featured GT street-based race cars racing on French racetracks. Patrick Peter was the legend who started it at the request of the French Federation of Motorsport, FFSA. In its first year, they officially named the series Series FFSA GT BPR 1997. Around this time, the BPR Global GT Series transitioned to the FIA GT Championship, which drew more teams and car entries. The BPR series is famous for bringing road legal supercars to racing, with the GT1 class serving as the pinnacle of that era's innovation. The French GT Championship served as an entry point for amateur and beginner drivers to climb up the ranks. The French Federation of Automobile Sport owns it. They keep GT racing alive in France today and go to tracks like Circuit Nogaro, Circuit des Magny-Cours, and Paul Ricard, to name a few. The first season was an immediate success, featuring GT cars like Porsche 911 GT2, Ferrari F40, Venturi 600 LM, VBM 4000, and the Helm V6. For the second year, the series becomes an official French championship under the SRO group. Stéphane Ratel, who also organized the FIA GT Championship in 1998, took over the series from Patrick Peter and aligned it with the FIA GT Championship to help rebuild GT racing around private teams. The focus during this transition was on balancing performance between professional and amateur drivers through the use of FIA GT2 rules. They had specific classes from the BPR series that separated more powerful vehicles. For instance, the GT3 cars had a weight-to-power ratio of 1,100 kilograms and 300 horsepower. Some models included the Lamborghini Diablo SVR and the Porsche 993 Super Cup. GT4s had even less power, including cars like the Ferrari F355 Challenge and the Porsche Carrera Cup. It's fascinating how they structured the classes to accommodate different types of cars and drivers. So, why was there no GT1 classes in the series of that era? Prices in motorsports quickly shot up, negatively affecting private teams in the FIA GT Championship. That's why GT1 fizzled out in the late 90s. So the French GT series had to adapt GT2 as the top class that defined endurance racing for the following decade. It was a smart choice that kept the series sustainable. That allowed the Dodge Viper GTSR to compete and be highly successful within the GT2 regulations. In the early 2000s, the French GT series experienced significant growth. The top class, previously GT2, was renamed just GT to signify its status as the main class. The FIA created a new secondary class, National GT, or NGT for short, to get more people into racing smaller, less expensive GT cars without bankrupting them. The class featured most different versions of the Porsche 911 GT3 and the Ferrari 360 Modena. As time went on, more cool cars joined in, like the Toyota Supra Bi-Turbo and Lamborghini Diablo. After the 2004 season, big changes occurred. The FIA NGT category became the new generation of GT2 class for the 2005 season and beyond. At the same time, the top class of the championship rebranded as GT1, attracting manufacturer interest, which introduced new cars, such as the Saleen S7R, which was a dominant success, Ferrari 550, Chevy Corvette, and Lister Storm. The Vipers ran the top class heavily in the championship. The GT2 category includes such cars as the Ferrari F430 GTC, Payne's Esperante, Viper Competition Coupe, and more. By then, another class expansion occurred. So, back in 2006, Stéphane Ratel came up with a new GT racing formula and launched the FIA GT3 European Championship to create a cost-effective, accessible, and welcoming sport for everyone. It proved a huge success. They had a stampede of more than 40 cars rolling out on the track and 8 different car manufacturers representing right from the jump. It was wild. Now, this modern-day GT3 thing started in Europe, then spread like wildfire worldwide, and is still in the game today. By 07, GT3 even made its way into the French GT Championship, featuring cars from way back in the day like the Lambo Gallardo, Ferrari 430, and Aston Martin DBR S9. Once the new class grew, even more big names started showing up. By the late 2000s, GT3 was climbing to the top, but the GT1 and GT2 classes were falling off hard because those cars got way too pricey, and this big issue also affected other racing series. So they just dropped those categories and were like, nah, we're good. By 2010, GT3 was the main event, so the series rebranded as FFSA GT3, the money-friendly class for the French GT Championship. And the cars we were talking about, they included a lot, like the Audi R8, the Gallardo, the BMW M6, and the Corvette C6, and I can go on and on. It was a time when GT3 racing was going off, and both professional and amateur drivers were going at it on the track with strict balance of performance to equalize car performance. In 2011, Oreca took over French GT from the SRO group, led by Hugues de Charnac. If you know that Oreca is a well-known French racing team and manufacturer. Oreca was heavily involved in producing and supporting GT3 cars and was already managing the Sports Car Winter Series and the Formula Le Mans Cup. They took care to stabilize the French GT Series and encourage participation to have fun. Until, however, what I'm about to say will disappoint you. By 2016, the number of entries for those GT3s dropped like crazy. Why? Well, the crazy part is that the decline started before the GT3s arrived. And despite hopes that they would attract more racers, they did not resolve the ongoing issues. It went from a chill, customer-friendly vibe to being all about big bucks. We're talking factory-backed teams and pros calling the shots. So for the privateers and the young gentleman drivers, it meant a mega punch in their wallets to keep up. Prices for getting a car, fixing it up, and grabbing those mandatory spare parts shot up. And don't even get me started on running costs. They were hitting the roof, sometimes costing hundreds of thousands of dollars just for spare parts. So yeah, Oreca was like, nah, we out of here, and they dipped, while SRO took back the championship in 2017. They saved the series by introducing the FIA GT4 regulations, which made the championship customer-oriented. Today, it's called the FFSA French GT4 Championship, and it's all about super competitive racing with cars from big names like Aston Martin, Audi, and Porsche, plus some cooler, smaller niche brands like Alpine and Ginetta. This championship is a training ground for young drivers stepping up from single-seater racing to endurance racing, and it's also a solid home for amateur racers. First off, without the FFSA French GT, things would be way different. Back in '97, when this championship kicked off, it was like laying down the foundation for a house. It gave the SRO Motorsports Group a rock-solid start after the whole GT1 championship fell apart. That's how they built the whole customer racing model that we see today. Now, about GT3 racing we're used to, where pros and amateur drivers race together, it all started from the groundwork laid in the French and European GT Series. Without the French GT and the BPR GT Series, just think about it. GT3 might not have become a global phenomenon. And check this out. The French GT has been a major stepping stone for rookie drivers. This is where they learn the ropes of endurance racing and must have that experience before moving up and becoming accessible to everyone. So remember this, y'all. The French GT wasn't just a series. It was a lifeline for high-level GT racing in Europe during the late 90s and 2000s. It shaped the way we see customer racing today. Just remember how much passion and sticking with it can totally change a sport. And that's all I have. We all just learned something today, right? And if you're new, you just learned something. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it does help me a lot more than you can imagine. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out and stay safe. Chris the Radar out.